Good evening, everyone. My name's Jenelle Riley. I'm an editor of Variety, and it is so nice to welcome you to the special screen of Angel of Mine. How about that movie, huh? I know, right? I kind of wish someone had been live streaming my reaction when I was watching it. Well, at this time, please join me in welcoming the film's director. She made her feature directorial debut with Strangerland, starring Nicole Kidman. She's also helmed the acclaimed shorts Bombshell and Between Me. Please welcome Kim Farrant. Thank you so much for being here. Congratulations on a really great movie with these beautiful performances. I was so, I don't think I've seen Noomi Rapace, Noomi, sorry. I just learned how to say it, and I'm still, Noomi Rapace, like, you know, she's had some great roles, but seeing her in this, she just broke my heart.
That's good. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me here.
Oh, well, this is an audience of SAG actors, and you actually began your career as an actor.
I did. So I trained. Does anyone know Eric Morris? The wonderful Eric Morris. So I trained with Eric many years ago. I actually started as a dancer up in Marin County with Anna Halperin, who's 95 and still teaching. Awesome. And then one day we got to speak. And I was like, oh, maybe I want to be an actor. So after a year of dance school, I came down to LA and I got into American New Theatre and studied with Eric. And I was very lucky because, hello, Diane, because it was so much about, you know, using your own life and your truth in service of the character. And then I went back to Australia for family reasons and then studied at the Actors Centre for a year. So I did 2 years of training and then some hilarious short films, video clips, all that kind of stuff. And then one day when I was at acting school, maybe I can tell you guys this, you might relate to it, not at Eric's school, but at the other school, one of the teachers turned up a little under the weather, shall we say.
Oh, yes.
A little too much.
As teachers do. Yes.
And so I was asked to direct the play that day. And I did, and it was the first day I didn't want to poo my pants because as an actor, that's all I wanted to do because I was so scared the whole time. And so I felt suddenly like in my skin, like I'd landed and I was like, oh, this is, and it all made sense. Like as a kid, I would like draw storyboards and picture books and it's Peter as well. Hello. So I was like, oh, this has been in me. I just didn't know what form, you know. But what was so brilliant is that my first kind of invitation into this world was through the mind of the actor and the body of the actor. And so that's always my reference point is like, you know, what is the character feeling in this moment? Where does it live in their body? How are they moving? What are they thinking? What do they want? Et cetera, et cetera. So that's how I work with actors from that background, and I'm not afraid of you guys. I love you guys. You're my people. I think a lot of directors are so terrified of you because you feel, and that's your instrument, that's your currency. That's why you're so good at what you do, because you're connected to your feelings. And a lot of directors desperately want to feel, and you are the way that they get to, but they find it intimidating, I think. Well, that's the feedback I get from a lot of actors that I work with. And I also coach actors because I love, you know, being around actors and I love directing. And if I don't do that, then I don't get to work my instrument as a director between films, you know. So it's very important to me to stay connected to my emotional instrument, to my feeling body, so that when I'm on set, hello gorgeous, then I get to, you know, use that like at the drop of it's at my fingertips. Mm-hmm. Does that answer your question?
Oh yeah, I'm so curious because do you have any interest in acting anymore, or have you funneled it all into writing and directing?
What's her name? Belinda Roberts. Belinda Roberts is a phone message in the movie. That's me. So I've decided that I'm going to be in every movie usually in some, either like a shadow through the background or like on the phone or my dog or, you know, like.
The Hitchcock cameo.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, I love acting and I act on set. I act with my actors. So I will get up there and I will act in rehearsals. I will act in the scenes because I want them to feel that they are safe. And that if they understand that I'm willing to feel those feelings that the character's going through, that they're going to have to go through and embody. And the actors that I cast aren't mimics. I work with actors who use their own stuff in service of character. So in that way, the actors, all the chemicals that are moving through their body, all the feelings, all the grief they're accessing, all the rage, all the lust, all of it is from, you know, your real life experience servicing what the character's going through in the moment. And so for that reason, if I'm asking you to be that exposed, my feeling is you need to feel safe that I can hold you in that level of exposure. So in rehearsals, I make it my business, and in the pre-production, if I don't get a lot of time rehearsing with the actor, then I make it my business to not only share stories, but let them see those parts of me. So Noomi and Yvonne in rehearsals, you know, I was letting them see under the kind of construct of an exercise, my rage, my grief, you know, and talking about shared experiences that I'd had that the characters were going through, but also getting up on the floor and like letting my shit, you know, like letting it rip, letting the rage come through. So they were like, oh, okay. Like she's not frightened of this. She's like, she actually wants more. She wants more. Like she's really here and she's really open and present and she's not, you know, cowering under these emotions. So I use acting in that way, and it's beautiful because it's not my mug on the screen. Yeah. It's yours. But I'm the instrument. It's all moving through my system. Does that make sense?
As an actress, you must have worked with so many directors who you
as a director.
No. As in, when you were an actress, did you work with directors?
I worked with young, up and coming directors. I didn't work with very experienced directors.
Were there things you learned that you kind of wanted to glean from, and then things you learned that you knew you didn't want to do with actors?
I'll put it in this context. When I went to film school, I went to film school for 3 years in Australia, and it was amazing. But I also learned a lot of bad things. I learned that you were warm props. I learned that the frame was more important. I'm serious. And then I spent another 3 years trying to unlearn all of that because that didn't sit right in my body. And I also felt, you know, like that it was so wrong to me that there was this assumption that you should hug an actor after a take or touch them or console them. Or I was like, that just doesn't feel right. Like there's so much going on through their system that my impulse is to be present, give them eye contact, but not to invade their space in any way, and not to try and take them out of what they're feeling, because that's your job to modulate your emotions and to make yourself feel safe. And I have to make a safe environment for you. But if I lift you out every time you've touched some deep rage or some grief or some sexuality or confusion or whatever it is you're going through, madness, and I try and elevate you to a more palatable place, then you're going to have to spend more time and energy dropping back in, right? Which is just a waste of your time and your instrument.
Especially on a short shooting schedule.
Oh, yeah. So I feel like I learned what not to do, as well as some, I learned amazing things at film school as well, but I already had, like an affinity for the emotional instrument. I grew up with a psychiatrist and a counselor for parents.
Nice.
Yeah. So it was part of my upbringing too. What's the feeling?
Did they ever want you to go into the family business? In a way, you kind of did.
No. I mean, definitely I think, and sometimes it really annoys me when journalists say to me like, oh, so this film's like really personal and really therapeutic. And I say, look, how can any form of expression not be therapeutic? I don't get that. Anytime you express yourself, it's cleansing. It's good for the system. You're expressing part of your innate being. So I don't understand that. There's like a negative thing around, stories sometimes that are deeply personal. And it's like, well, for me, I can only give you my truth, So I've forgotten your question.
It's just, that's strange that they would say that, just because why would you want to tell a story if it wasn't personal to you? I think.
Or if it didn't touch you
Yeah,
deeply.
yeah, in some
so,
way.
yeah. I mean, this story, Angel of Mine, what do we think? Do we like it? Yay! I don't have an experience of losing a child, but I do have experiences of feeling crazy, feeling like I've got all these emotions happening and I'm thinking one thing and someone else is telling me, something else, and that can make me feel a little like, what? Or I've had experiences with feeling obsessed. Like there was one guy that I was so in love with once, and he was so in love with me. He was married. And we never did anything. We never even kissed, right? But this thing went on for like a year, and I would like drive past his work and I'd stop and I'd just stare at him and see him in the window, and oh my God, and my heart would beat so fast. And then I go to my work, and then he'd like a fucking stalker, he'd be across the street. He'd get out of his car and he'd just like stand by this lamppost and stare at me, like we were both like so obsessed, and all I could think about was this dude. I mean, that's a whole other story, but anyway, so I know obsession and I know where that can take you, So as long as there's a point of resonance.
Yeah.
The main reason I wanted to, I know you haven't asked this, but I'm just going to say it
I was
anyway.
probably getting there.
The main reason I was attracted to this story is that I feel like there's so much value placed on the surface, especially in this town, right? And I've been living here a few years now. I've just moved to Santa Barbara a couple of years ago, but I've spent a lot of time here, and there's so much surface kind of validation, how we look and how we dress and all this kind of, interacting, or like, how famous are you? How rich are you? Blah, 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 all this crap. And it's like, I'm so much more interested in what's going on underneath for you. And most of that stuff gets regulated behind closed doors, and all the untenable, unlovable, unforgivable aspects of ourselves go there as well. And I'm like, but that's the stuff. Mm-hmm. That's the stuff we fall in love with each other, the flaws, the imperfections, the vulnerabilities, the insecurities. That's the stuff I'm really interested in. And because I believe in radical honesty, and especially in relationship with people, and really expressing how you truly feel, then that's the stuff I want to see on the screen. Like I was trying to normalize grief because it's we don't have rituals for it. We don't have a space for it. We have an intolerance for it. Get over it. Get over it. Why? I love that person. They mean a lot to me. So there's this whole intolerance for feeling. And so it was very much an ode to how deeply we love, and how, all of us, we've experienced loss. None of us are immune to it. So it's very much like a homage to love, to the broken parts of all of us, and to putting them on the screen, especially for younger people, so that they don't go into feeling so emotionally isolated, suicide, depression, medicating, just because we're deeply feeling. Mm-hmm. All of us.
It's interesting that Noomi's character, I'll just call her Lizzie, that Lizzie also works at a place that is about putting makeup on people and making them look pretty on the outside.
She's a makeup artist, and she's very much buying into that. And there's something beautiful about celebrating ourselves with makeup, and I totally get all that. I have makeup on right now for the photo shoot that I just did. So there's that part, I get that. But then there's also like all those feelings that Lizzie's going through, or all stuff that we've all felt, how much we've expressed them in front of others, is another story. So it was about like, this stuff exists. You're not crazy because you feel deeply. You're not overly sensitive. Over what? Like there's all these kind of paradigms of how we should be, and especially like around anger, like that's somehow not pretty.
Yeah.
And anger's sexy if it's embodied.
Yep.
And it's owned and it's responsible. That's hot. Mm-hmm. Am I the only one that finds that hot? Right? When someone's like looking you in the eyes and they're like, fuck, you made me so fucking angry. I love you, but that's hot. Fuck you is not, because that's like cold and closing your heart. But there's these beautiful, wild emotions that these characters express. And I was like, bring it on. I want to direct that movie.
Well, I was thinking in your feature directorial debut, Strangerland. Strangerland. I like to make up my own compound words. Um, it's very brutal. It's set in the Australian outback. It is physically draining. It looks like those actors went through hell. And this one, it's also brutal in a very different way, specifically because maybe it's a very Western thing, but we don't deal with grief. And when you were creating the character of Lizzie with Noomi, I'm wondering how many people sort of put her in the villain category. Because on the surface, they might say, like, she's stalking this family, she's doing something wrong, but she's our hero, really. You know, she's so sympathetic, and it's so frustrating to see that people kind of can't handle her grief.
Yeah, it's a great question. So, I mean, I think hopefully if I did my job right, some of you judged her. Anyone?
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
and you were like, she's batshit crazy. There's that side, and then there's the voice of like, is she?
Tell me about the cast.
So what was amazing about working with this cast was that they were all so devoted to their characters in terms of the complexity of, you know, what they were going through. So for instance, with Lizzie, with Noomi, she was like, you know, I feel like I'm losing my mind, and then I have moments where I feel like I'm not. And both of them exist in equal weight, you know? And so that was really fantastic to me, that she was so aware of, you know, we all have the one voice that says like, I'm awesome, I've got the job, I'm going to be amazing. And the other voice is like, you're a piece of shit, you don't have the job, everyone hates you. You know, like we all have both sides. So I love that about actors, that they, you know, they think in a way that, you know, many directors and sometimes including myself, I was like, oh, wow, I hadn't thought of it from that angle. So, you know, I was very lucky that they were so devoted to their characters.
Was the character written as a foreigner? Because Noomi is Swedish, correct? And she's in this Australian town, and it adds a layer of otherness to her.
It does, and, you know, it was actually a practical choice because of the timing of everyone's schedules to have Noomi go and learn the Australian accent. Is there any Aussies here? One. Hello. Really? It's a very hard accent to learn, and you know, we in Australia laugh at Americans when you try and do it. So
I wouldn't even try.
There's a great Casey Affleck film that he's just written and directed and starred in, where he does an Australian accent, taking off Russell Crowe. It's so funny.
It's supposed to be funny.
The light of my life. It's supposed to be funny. Okay. It's really good. But, you know, it's on a hard accent to do. And so I was like, you know, I've got 8 days rehearsal. You know, once she came on board the film, we were going to be shooting in 6 weeks' time. It was just not long enough to learn the accent. So we just embrace that she's a foreigner, she's Swedish. What we did do is have the mother character learn some Swedish.
Oh, interesting.
To sprinkle that in. Yeah. So that, you know, and Australia, you know, like America, is incredibly multicultural. So it totally was feasible that a Swede lived there. You know, the dad's English, Luke's Welsh, who played Mike, Luke Evans. So, you know, all over.
I don't know if I've ever seen Yvonne use, that's her actual accent.
Yes.
Wow.
Yvonne is Australian.
Can you talk about sort of rounding out this ensemble? Because I do feel like every player has to be perfect for it to work as effortlessly as you make it look.
You mean in the casting, rounding it out?
Yeah. Where did you even start?
So we started with Noomi, and I'd seen her Dragon Tattoo series, but then I asked to see some of her other work that was less, you know, blockbuster-ish. And she's done these amazing films called Daisy Diamond and Baby Call, which were Danish and Swedish films. And I saw them, I was like blown away. And so we offered her the role, and she read the script overnight. Oh my God, incredible. Rings me the next day, we get on Skype, and I said, would you be willing to go back to the more raw, very unfiltered, you know, part of yourself that did Daisy Diamond and Baby Call? And she was like, oh my God, yes, please. You know, and then I talked to her about what do you need as an actor? How can I support you? I can just give you story and character notes, or I can give you a whole lot of processes to help disarm all the neurological defenses in your system to help the character come through. And she was like, I would love any processes you want to bring to me. She was so open, so brave, so willing, so humble. So first day of rehearsal, I had her, doing a 1 hour shaking practice, shaking and dance, and with cathartic expression and clearing the pipes, as I call it. And she did it. And then she did it every single day of rehearsal and the entire shoot. So she would get up at 3:30 in the morning sometimes to do her hour of shaking and dance just to unlock her system. Like, that's just one example of the many processes that we did together, both in rehearsals and on set. We did a lot of improvising. I'd act with her. We'd do sense memory before a take. We'd do personalization. We'd use people from her life. We'd put them on the wall and she'd talk to them in the run up to the take. Anything to just trigger her system. So, every actor works differently, and I totally respect that you all have your own processes and techniques. But some directors like me like to offer, support, because even though your conscious mind might be like, yeah, I'm totally available to this, we all have the neurological pathways that suddenly like, oh shit, I'm shutting down, or I'm frozen, or I'm numb, or I've left my body and I can't remember the lines, but I know the script off by heart. And that's where, like, as someone who works on a very much a somatic level with actors, I can offer processes on set that can help unlock the system. And so she was incredibly brave because she's very experienced. She's been acting, since she was 15. And that's been her career since she was 15. So it's not like she needs help, but she said to me, I've been looking all my life for a director who would challenge me.
Wow.
She said most directors are frightened of me and they just accept the first performance they get. And so I did. I would challenge her and we would go deeper, and I'd call stuff out from the split, action words or trigger words in Swedish, or just trigger words that no one else understood but we knew, that could help evoke a performance. You can always cut out my dialogue. You can always cut out my voice, and then not have to go through the whole take and give a note, but just be in the middle of a take and just yell something out, and boom, it hits a nerve and she's going deeper.
Yeah.
So, all power to her for her willingness and bravery and humility.
How many days did you have to shoot?
27.
I just can't imagine. You have a lot of locations.
We
also.
do. We had 31 locations and 10 days in one location. So we actually had 30 locations in 17 days. So we had a location move every day. And in Australia, we only shoot a 10-hour day.
Really?
It's really nice.
Oh, my God, I'm moving
And
to
so
Australia.
what that means is you actually, in America, get an extra day of shooting because you have 12 hours a day. So you have 2 more hours a day.
Wow.
So you get an extra day. So it was a tight schedule. But they were all so professional that, they rose to the challenge. But it was pretty exhausting emotionally.
I also wanted to point out the young actress who Annika Whiteley. There's that old joke, like, don't work with kids or animals. But, this is an amazing performance at any age. Is ice a thing?
I'm making it a thing because that scene shooting on the ice rink.
Oh God!
And we shot 2 days. We shot a whole lot of scene that we cut on the ice rink. It's it's breaking necks.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. Don't shoot with animals, children, or ice.
She's fantastic. And I feel like the movie wouldn't work without the right actress in that role. Were you worried you wouldn't be able to find someone, or did you find her pretty easily?
No, I wasn't worried because I'm pretty dogged, I'll go after what I need. But the casting agent found her, Alison Meadows, and Annika had done one short film, and it was, she auditioned and she was really great, but I needed to meet her, and I met her, and it was just her way, her energy was so kind of fey and open, and she said this thing about, she's like, I really feel other people's pain and I don't know what to do with it. And I was like, oh God. I feel you, kid.
And how old is she?
She was 7, maybe 8 when she got the role, 7 or 8. Yeah. So, but what I did find worked really well with her is a lot of impro. So I would improvise with her during a take as well as the other actors. Also, Nooms and Yvonne would improvise with her. So that really helped her just stay in the right now moment, and shooting her always first in a scene. And Finn Little, that little kid.
Oh, he's
Oh
great
my
too.
God.
Yeah.
In rehearsals, you know, the other actors would come up to me and go, I am so intimidated by that kid. Like he just like his truth meter is just, it's all truth.
Yeah,
There's nothing, he's never pushes, no ham, nothing. And that scene where he's with the grandparents and they have the fight, every single take, and he had to do it 8 times, 4 for himself for coverage and then just for feeding the other actors. Real tears every time.
Really?
Oh my God, so good.
Because we do have so many actors here, I'd be curious to know, is there anything you would want them to know if they're lucky enough to get to audition for you? Like if there's something that, you know, you would advise them maybe not to do or something specific that you're looking for, or sometimes it's ineffable.
Oh, I love that. Sure. So the first thing I would say is if we don't get to meet in a room and it's a self-tape, please have a tight eye line. I know that sounds really weird, but the tighter your eye line is to the camera, to the reader next to the camera, the more I'm going to connect with you. So when your eye line's like this and I'm over there, it's like I can't feel you. So that would be the first thing, technical thing. And then I always say when I coach actors, like the bold choice gets you the callback. So I can always bring your performance in, but I can't bring it out of you. So, you know, if you're really clear on what you want in the scene and you've chosen 3 things that you think I'm looking for that you can access in your range, maybe it's your authority, maybe it's your innocence, maybe it's your that you can cry, whatever. You choose those 3 things and make sure that you can hit those things. Then it's like, give me the bold choice. I'll just love you for being bold and giving of yourself, and then I can always it's my job to shape the scene. It's not your job to know every single thing that the character wants and every single thing that's going on in the moment. That's my job, but it's your job to show me the range of your instrument, even if the scene doesn't necessarily require it, but another scene might require it. You're just letting me know that other scene, I can do this too. Or I haven't even read the script, but I just want to show you my range. It's not about like, do you know every choice? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Is that helpful?
Actually, I love the very technical help. I love the eye line thing because those are things that people just don't tell you.
Yeah, and the other thing is if you're sending a self-tape, and I know agents say, oh, do it this way, whatever. I always say, give me 2 choices, but please make them different. Like give me the really intense version and then give me the subtle version. So show me your range, but give me 2 choices for each scene that's on the tape, and then I can see like, oh wow, like you can dial it up in a different way.
I've always been curious about that because I don't know if they just want to see if we're consistent and can do the same thing, or if they want to see a variation.
I don't know who they is, but
The
no,
great they that's
yeah,
casting
exactly,
everything.
and that's the
Yeah.
other thing. It's like a lot of Australian actors are like, I just want to go to America to get in the room, and I'm like, it's the same room. It's the same room. It's just got an accent. Like that's all. You know what I mean? Like this whole like this is how you do it. There's no way to do it. There's no one way. And I met a lovely actress last night who came to a screening we had last night of the film, and she said she was Australian. She was like, oh yeah, I'm testing over here, but they're all telling me I'm too old. She was like 30. I'm like, you are never too old because there's always a character your age that I want to cast. Always. So like that is bullshit. Do not buy into it. Your body, your wrinkles, your everything is divine. Please be yourself. Bring that. So
I mean, your 3 main characters in this movie are women, really. It's those 2 women and the young girl.
the 3 main women
Well,
on the
not
poster.
on the poster, but no offense, Luke Evans. Luke is very pretty, but
I have to tell you, Luke Evans is one of the most incredible actors to work with because he's so humble and present and feeling and empathetic, and he just feeds off the right now moment, and it's just remarkable.
yeah.
Like, so having that intervention scene, it was like, oh my God, like both of them were just so, you know, and that's the thing. They say screen presence, and it is. It's like if there's any acting exercise that you do as part of your daily, how do I feed my actor? Do eye gazing. Look at another actor in the eye, in the left eye to left eye, and just stare at them and notice all the feelings that arise and how you want to cover those things and how you want to shut down or the uncomfortable laughter, whatever, and let it all be present. But learn to just be present is one of the most magical gifts, because when you walk into the audition room, speaking of auditions, the other thing I really want to see is you. Because you're the last 10% of the character. Like, the character's written on the page, but you is the bit that makes the difference and brings the character to life. So I want to meet you in the audition. I don't want to meet the character straight away when I say hello, when you ask me a question or I ask you about your day or whatever. I so want a sense of you, because you're the bit I'm interested in that's going to make the character become the individual that they are. Does that make sense? And that's that thing of presence. Like, so my job in the room is to be present to you, to feel you, and hopefully your job is that you've been, practicing being present with each other, so that when you're in the right now moment acting, like Luke, all he did was like, just, you knew his character and then he was just responding. Yeah. Completely available. He wasn't like, I'm going to do it like this. He was just responding to Noomi, to that. And it just, he felt more and more with each take.
I mean, she's so powerful, it's hard not to respond to her, especially just those eyes.
If you're acting in isolation, which is usually from fight mode because of fear that no one's got my back and I have to do it on my own and I can't trust people, it's very hard to be in the right now moment. Yeah. So that's what I mean by breaking down the neurological defenses that get in the way of you being able to be present with the other and respond to what they're giving you in the moment. And you can always tell when an actor has worked out how they're going to do it. And it's like, I'm going to show you my vulnerability, but it's just the stuff I feel comfortable with, just the vulnerability that is okay. Not like with Noomi, she was so gorgeous. She'd ring me or she'd text me. She's like, Kim, I know my character back to front. I have no idea what's going to come through. And it's so exciting and terrifying. And it was so beautiful. Like, she knew the given circumstances of every scene completely, the gate, what the character was thinking and feeling in every moment, what she wanted, blah, 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 external obstacles, internal. But what was going to get unearthed, she didn't know. Really? And she was so open to, because the instrument was so open, to being surprised and letting it come through. There's no control in that. And my brief to her was, let me be a container for you to unravel in. And she went, I'm so scared, and let's do it. And she did it.
I want to take a couple quick questions from the audience. Let me see. We have one from Terrence T. Terrence, are you here? Oh, there you are. You're back there. I'm sorry. Wants to know what was the most difficult scene to shoot that didn't involve ice.
What was the most difficult scene? Well, the ice skating was really difficult because I was on ice. That's
really?
not
On blades?
Pretty. Oh, yeah.
Oh, God.
Well, no, not on blades. Okay. On shoes, but it felt like on blades because I'm a little unco on
That's
the ice.
That's almost worse.
So it was that, so having the safety issues as a part of it, and because, part of my job is to be really fit. So I train before any shoot, make sure I'm really fit because I'm running around all day. So I'm on the ice trying not to run, but working against the clock, working with children, terrified someone's going to break their neck, and also directing performance. So that was difficult. The fight scene, ironically, I thought it was going to be really difficult, but we were towards the end of the shoot. We choreographed all the physical stuff, so we had really clear boundaries around the technical aspects of the fight. And then we had, in moments for the wider shots, we had body doubles, working with glass, working with breaking things. And then we also had, the close-ups on the women. And then we had the confrontation. So both of those scenes got shot in a day.
You're kidding.
I kid you not.
Wow.
And that was a lot to do. But also, I was also really clear, and so the cast, the scene was so intense emotionally that to shoot it for more than a day and split it with a nighttime break would also not be good. Yeah. So it was just a big emotional holding day, with things like the unexpected things, like someone really pivotal on the crew, suddenly a family member died and they had to leave. And so then we lost one of the arms of the crew, you know, like, so things like that, like that's
Yeah.
the life of it, and just being able to stay with the intensity of holding space for them to be able to be so unmasked and so in their ugly, emotionally ugly stuff, and feel safe to stay in it, you know, to do another angle or to do a second run or to do 2 runs within one take, or, you know, that stuff's a lot, but at the same time was so juicy and amazing and delightful.
Juicy is just the word. I was like, yeah. And that's, like you said, that's a moment where you don't want to hug them and break them out of that. Yeah.
So for me, like, that's also very much like, you know, asking permission, offering, you know, do you need a hug, or, but not like, hey,
Yeah.
because, you know, you've got so much adrenaline. If you're really feeling it as an actor, there's all that adrenaline going through you, and dopamine releases and endorphins and all of that. So last thing you want necessarily is to be touched.
We have a question from, is it Calder? Yeah. Oh, okay, cool. Wants to know, do you have the sense that some performers are better suited for film and others television, or even stage? I'll throw in. Why or why not?
I've never been asked that question before. I don't know. Like, I don't think so. I think obviously when you work in the different mediums, you're modulating performance to the size of the screen or the stage, and what you're doing with your voice and you know, your physicality. But I think there's a lot of like, this is how it is stuff, which I just don't buy into or want to buy into. So I think, you know, wherever your heart's leading you, and then learning the craft of that medium and trusting that. Yeah.
This movie is in theaters now, isn't it?
No,
Technically it comes out
this
tomorrow.
movie opens tomorrow.
There aren't midnight showings or something? I mean,
I don't know.
I thought I saw something like it was sneaking tonight. Okay, maybe I'm wrong. The
No
important thing
midnight
is,
showings.
by the time you guys all leave here tonight, it'll be in theaters.
Yes, and it's playing at the
The Lemley?
Lemley. It's playing at the Lemley, and it's open for a week.
Oh, fantastic!
Right. So if you did enjoy the movie, or you find it curious or whatever, and you want to tell your friends or family to go and see it, it's opening in cities around America for a week tomorrow, and then if a lot of people see it, then it'll extend.
Please do spread the word. It's such a special film, and I just love when people go out in person and see movies like this up against, you know, these blockbusters. So if you enjoyed it, and like she said, I think you did, please let everyone know. I want to thank you guys for being a great audience. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks for your great questions too.